Oakhaven, a name that conjured images of idyllic cottages, vibrant gardens, and friendly neighbors. A place where children played freely and doors were left unlocked. But that was before the darkness crept in, before the peace was shattered. It was a crisp autumn morning when the news ripped through the village like a cold wind. Mark Bradbury, the beloved local entrepreneur, was found dead. He was lying in his study, a room usually filled with the warm glow of antique lamps and the comforting aroma of old books. Now it was a crime scene, a place of violence and despair. The news spread like wildfire, from the quaint bakery to the bustling village square. Disbelief etched on every face, replacing the usual warmth with a cold fear. The heart of Oakhaven, it seemed, had stopped beating. How could something so horrific happen here? In a place where everyone knew their neighbors' names, where children inherited friendships from their parents, violence felt like an unwelcome stranger. This wasn't just a crime. It was a betrayal of the very soul of Oakhaven. The quaint houses, once symbols of comfort and familiarity, now seemed to loom over the narrow lanes, their windows like watchful eyes. The laughter of children, once a familiar melody, was replaced by an unnerving silence. The fear was palpable, a suffocating blanket that settled over Oakhaven. It was as if the village itself was holding its breath, waiting, dreading the moment the truth would be revealed. The villagers gathered in hushed groups, their faces etched with worry and suspicion. Speculation ran rampant, each whisper adding another layer of unease to the already heavy atmosphere. Everyone had a theory, a suspicion, a secret fear they dared not voice. The idyllic facade of Oakhaven had crumbled, revealing the complex web of relationships and hidden truths that lay beneath. The murder of Mark Bradbury had plunged the village into chaos, leaving behind a chilling question: could they ever truly recover? Mark Bradbury was more than just a successful businessman. He was Oakhaven's golden boy. He had grown up in the village, his family deeply rooted in its history. Everyone knew him, admired him. He was living proof that one could leave, chase dreams in the bustling city, and return to find success and happiness in the place where it all began. Mark had returned to Oakhaven after making his fortune in software development. He poured his energy and wealth into revitalizing his beloved village. The old mill, once destined for demolition, was transformed into a thriving community center thanks to his generosity. The village library, a treasure trove of forgotten stories, was refurbished and expanded, its shelves stocked with the latest bestsellers. Mark's vision breathed new life into Oakhaven, attracting tourists and new residents alike. He was a charismatic leader, always ready with a kind word and a helping hand. His success hadn't changed him, the villagers would say. He was still the same Mark, the boy who played football in the village green, the teenager who worked at the local pub during summer breaks. He treated everyone with respect, from the elderly Mrs. Hawthorne, whose family had lived in Oakhaven for generations, to young Emily, the baker's daughter who had just started school. Mark Bradbury had it all: a successful career, a loving wife, a beautiful home, and the adoration of an entire village. So the question echoed through the narrow lanes of Oakhaven: who would want him dead? It seemed unfathomable, impossible. And yet, there he was, lifeless in his study, a victim of a brutal crime. The murder sent shockwaves through the community, leaving them grappling with the unsettling reality that their golden boy was gone, and with him, a part of their innocence. The man who had brought so much life to Oakhaven was now gone, leaving behind a void that seemed impossible to fill. The call came in the dead of night, shattering the stillness of Dr. Eleanor Thorne's study. A murder in Oakhaven. Detective Inspector Davis's voice was laced with urgency. Dr. Thorne was the best forensic pathologist in the region, known for her meticulousness and sharp intellect. Her mind was a steel trap, catching the smallest details, the faintest clues. Dr. Thorne arrived at the Bradbury residence as dawn painted the sky in hues of gray and purple. The village was eerily quiet. the only movement from police officers cordoning off the area. The air hung heavy with tragedy, contrasting the picturesque beauty of Oakhaven. Inside, the study was a battleground between life and death. The scent of stale tobacco and aged paper was overpowered by the metallic tang of blood. Every object held the potential to tell a story, to whisper secrets of the crime. Dr. Thorne moved with practiced ease, scanning the room, taking in every detail. She worked methodically, her movements precise, her gaze unwavering. She examined the body, the position, the wounds, searching for the silent language of the deceased. Her tools moved with gentle precision, contrasting the brutality of the act. The weight of the task fueled her need to bring justice to the victim, to give a voice to the silenced. Dr. Thorne knew that within the chaos of the crime scene lay the truth, and she would find it. The quaint lanes of Oakhaven, usually bustling with friendly greetings and the laughter of children, were now heavy with suspicion. Detective Inspector Davis, a man hardened by years of dealing with the city's underbelly, found himself in unfamiliar territory. The idyllic facade of Oakhaven felt like a fragile mask, barely concealing the secrets and resentments simmering beneath the surface. Every friendly smile, every gesture of concern seemed laced with a subtle undercurrent of anxiety, a fear of being the next target, the next victim. Davis started with the obvious, the people closest to Mark Bradbury. His wife Eleanor was a picture of grief, her elegant features etched with pain and disbelief. She spoke of her husband with a love that seemed genuine, her voice choked with sobs as she recounted their last moments together. Then there was Edward, Mark's business partner, his face pale with shock, his usually sharp eyes clouded with grief. He spoke highly of Mark, praising his business acumen and his unwavering loyalty. But Davis had learned to trust his instincts, honed through years of navigating the murky waters of human deceit. Beneath the veneer of grief, he sensed something else. A hesitation in Eleanor's voice, a flicker of something unreadable in Edward's eyes. Were these just figments of his imagination, or were they subtle clues pointing towards a darker truth? As days turned into nights, the investigation spread through Oakhaven like wildfire. Davis and his team interviewed the villagers, piecing together the fragments of Mark Bradbury's life. They scoured the crime scene, searching for any piece of evidence that might lead them to the killer. Every whispered rumor, every seemingly insignificant detail was meticulously documented, analyzed, and scrutinized. The pressure was mounting. The media had descended upon the once peaceful village, hungry for any scrap of information, their cameras capturing the fear and suspicion that now permeated the very air of Oakhaven. Davis knew that time was of the essence. He had to catch the killer not just for Mark Bradbury, but for the soul of Oakhaven, a village teetering on the brink of chaos. The sterile silence of the autopsy suite was a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing in Oakhaven. Dr. Thorne worked with her usual meticulous precision, her focus unwavering as she delved into the secrets hidden within Mark Bradbury's lifeless form. Every incision, every sample taken was a step closer to uncovering the truth. The body on the steel table, once a symbol of success and vitality, was now a map of violence, a testament to the brutality of the crime. The initial examination revealed the cause of death: blunt force trauma to the head. However, something about the wound pattern didn't sit right with Dr. Thorne. It wasn't just the severity of the blow, but the angle, the precision. It suggested a personal rage, an intimate knowledge of the victim's anatomy. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was a carefully orchestrated execution. As she worked, Dr. Thorne discovered something else. A small, almost unnoticeable detail. Traces of a foreign substance under the victim's fingernails. It was a faint clue, but in the world of forensic science, even the smallest detail could unravel the most complex of cases. The substance was sent to the lab for analysis, and the results came back with a surprising revelation. It was a rare type of soil, found only in a handful of locations around Oakhaven. One of those locations was a secluded meadow, a place of tranquil beauty known only to a select few. It was a place where Mark Bradbury, an avid birdwatcher, would often go for solitude and peace. The discovery sent a chill down Dr. Thorne's spine. It suggested that the killer knew Mark's routines, his habits, his secret haven. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was a carefully planned ambush. The killer had lured Mark to his death, to a place where his screams would go unheard, his absence unnoticed, at least for a while. The truth, it seemed, was buried somewhere in the heart of Oakhaven, hidden amongst the whispers of the wind and the secrets buried deep within the village's soul.